Hey loves, it's Janelle, the relationship coach behind the Successful Invisible. And in this episode of Ish I Saw on TikTok, I wanted to piece together a video, and this is a long one, called or around commentary about the Danish deception. Recently, a Nigerian woman came on TikTok to give her 27-part series about her adventures in dating a con artist. There was this Danish man that she married, well, she dated, then married, and he subsequently harmed pretty much her and everyone in her circle through mistrust, manipulation, and getting to their money. We're breaking down how racial insecurity, internalized bias, and unhealed identity wounds show up in what women allow in men's dating behavior, and what it means for a woman to choose herself and understand how to avoid certain things. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity, protection, and emotional maturity.
To make a long story short, he lies, she forgives him, they go on a trip. She blames things on his addiction. He has a gambling addiction that he didn't tell her, even though he told his family he told her. She forgives him, they go on a trip. She finds out that he has taken $200,000. What's that on my lip? Got it off. Dollars from her friend's husband for crypto because he's selling watches. She tells him, he lies, she forgives him, and guess what they do? They go on a trip. She now owes all this money. She sets up a payment plan. He goes to GA, Gamblers Anonymous. Things look great. She finds a gambling app on his phone. He admits that he did it. She thanks him. What do? Go on a trip. She asks him to start paying back the money he owes her. He lies about how much money he has. He only has 34 cents, child. Mind you, the only reason why she knows is because she took his bank card, went to the ATM, looked at the amount, went back home, yelled at him about it, didn't leave, but went on the trip. Mind you, she still owes Crypto and Cryptisha money. But then she had to go on a trip. So then he lies to her a couple more times, goes to GA, she forgives him, she yells, she thanks him for being honest, and then they go on a trip. He proposes to her twice, both not her dream proposal, according to him. They go on a trip. They go visit some venues in Portugal. She goes to look at dresses with her mother. When he's supposed to pay back her mother, he gets backed into a corner. The jig is up. He leaves her. She doesn't want him to leave, so she takes his passport. She realizes he owes a whole bunch of people a whole bunch of money. He, of course, lies because he's a compulsive liar and a gambler, and she ignored all the red flags. She blames everyone but herself, including his family, his friends, everyone. She tries to save her marriage by going up the hill and taking his passport. Doesn't work. She realizes he took money from her sister. She starts to cry in that video. In the midst of her trying to figure out how many people he owes money to, which is a lot, child, she calls a really rich man, and he tells her the reason why, because no one told her that he was taking money from them, which was odd. The reason why he didn't tell her that he took money from him, even though that man has a lawsuit on him, is because she's Nigerian, and she was kind of okay with that. That was weird. And to make a long story short, what broke the camel's back and made her stop going on all these trips and stop forgiving a liar is when she found out that he borrowed $3,000 from her sister and possibly some money from her parents. Yes, she did defend him because we don't know all the good stuff. She just told us the bad stuff. And yes, there's stuff I'm missing, but all in all, he lied a lot, he gambled a lot, he owes a lot of people money, and they went on a lot of trips.
Seriously, let's speak about Danish men and Scandinavian men in general because you all be laughing instead of taking notes. You know, blonde, 6 foot, and everything in between you all are paying for. And before you start, Rachel, I know what I'm talking about. So listen. Number 1, see me? Please close your ears. Are you done? Working from home. Number 1, they don't use condoms. Just assume everyone you meet has an STI, it will save you. They have a princess mentality and will center themselves. They also have a godlike complex and think they're doing you and the entire world a favor. You will learn how to deal with your people-pleasing tendencies because they will please themselves. Relationships with the Scandinavian is for convenience. Any inconvenience and he's out. Divorce is always on the table. They love you today and they leave you tomorrow because they just lost a connection. If you have abandonment issues, just fix it before you enter the door. This is their dating history. They'll date a Danish woman, another Danish human. In between these relationships, they'll date African, American, Latino. Eventually, they will settle with an Asian woman and make her suffer, pay for all of it, and then end up single in a retirement home. And to them, that's okay. So you know, don't say I did not warn you.
This one for your hair. This one for your clothes.
We are being the harshest. So let me get this straight. Homegirl comes online and in 27 parts narrates a story where those of us with eyes that work, those of us with heads that work, we heard the story, we know what's wrong with him, but then we are looking to you because we cannot change the actions of people outside of us, but we can look at ourselves and say, where was I stupid? How are you going to narrate a story in 25 parts and none of the 25 parts do we hear where you can see that you were wrong? We're now pointing out to you that after digesting your 25-part stories, there are many, 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 many things that are not adding up. And you want to say Black women are being the harshest. That's where I draw the line. I personally don't like to tune into multiple part stories on this app. I rarely comment on any of them. But I see a lady named Onyeka. I see deception. I said, let me listen to somebody that is like me. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that I was tuning into something that would piss me off this much. Literally, I was like, when she gave us 6K, I said, it cannot be worse than 6K. Only to discover that throughout this series, you spend most of your time protecting a stranger's reputation. The whole time, I wanted to protect him. Now we are all calling out to you that, hello, ma'am. After tuning into your 25 parts, we agree with that this boy is stupid. But you too, you were very, very mad. Sending passport data page, picking $200 Dior glasses, telling him I will cook for the right man, saying I don't want to look like I want to spend most of his money. Marrying him behind your family's back and giving him green card. There are many parts of the story where you were being a unwise lady. So why would you now try to imply that we, the melanated sisters, are the issue here? It is you. And this is the lesson. If you're going to come on this app and, possibly join the Creators Fund and try to make a buck off of your trauma, the least you can do is tell your story from the perspective of accountability. The least you can do is come on the app and say, I would like to tell a story of when I was a dum-dum and I let a stranger get a green card out of me and multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars from me and my friends. Start from there. Start with already landing at the accountability part, because now you want to force us to hold you accountable, but you came online unsolicited. No, I will not allow me and my sisters be gaslit. We gave you our TikTok scrolling time. When I scroll on TikTok, I'm looking for makeup tips. I get the news sometimes. I laugh. I get a lot of laughs, a lot of chuckles. But you took over my damn For You page, and I gave you the time. And you want to imply that we are all trying to be hostile? We aren't. You told your story. You thought we'd be sad with you and say, oh my God, girl, you were helpless. You were not helpless. You were not helpless. Many times in the story, you were a mumu. Many times in the story, you were chasing blonde hair and blue eyed, which is a segue. When you are this color and you have these color eyes and you fantasizing about the literal opposite, you got to look inside. What is wrong with you? How can blonde hair and blue eye be the thing that is making you jump and you are a Black woman? That's not normal behavior. And we're calling that out. You're saying somehow people are making this about race. Race is inside. I gotta leave this story alone. But girl, coming online to imply that Black women And then on top of that, the Danish girls are dragging you. Danish women are in the chat saying, what the hell? Every nationality, Arab, Mexican, everybody is looking at you saying, that doesn't make any sense. So, girl, accountability. Go home, log off. You said you just signed divorce papers how many days ago? Go and sit down. Find a black therapist. If you're out here seeing a white therapist, girl, that's not gonna work out. Find a black therapist. Nonsense.
Another thing that's driving me crazy about Onyeka is her proximity to whiteness is out of control. It was driving me nuts. She keeps doing this thing with her chin, elongating it. And first of all, I'm realizing it's a hard listen because she sounds like she's a newscast person. Yeah, you guys have been asking me how I'm doing. And I don't want to say it's because she enunciate. It's just like, do you ever relax? Like, there's no code switch because I think she thinks she's a white woman. And I'm not saying that black people cannot speak properly. We can. But hers just feels not real. It feels performative. It feels tiring. Like, I would hate to live my life like that. Anyways, she does this thing, and I've seen it twice in her videos. It drives me nuts. She does this thing. Like, I got it. I won. I got the white man, the blonde hair, the blue eyes.
February, and in March you needed money.
Yes. In the car. When she was in the golf cart, this was literally her with the white man beside her. So strange. And ugly. Like, I'm not calling her ugly. I'm saying that is so ugly because she doesn't have an underbite. So what are you doing? All I'm saying is that a man could never go that far in tricking me because a man told me that his father was the 15th or 25th president of Liberia. I went and looked it up. Yeah, trace it back. That is his relative. But this man telling you he's the prince of blah, 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 and he damn near living like Shrek. And you didn't think anything of it, because whether you have money or not, I am going to love you. It doesn't matter. It's a hard listen because, one, of how she talks, and I don't like when people take so long to finish a word. Hurry up. But also because she looks like when you're holding in a fart all day because you're surrounded by people in a small space. She looks tense. Like, if you look up the definition tense, that's what she looks like. She looks like being so performative has got my girl so tense. Girl, you look like a ball of fart waiting to come off. Just relax. Relax, mama.
I know Onyeka is telling all her white friends this is why she's not friends with black folks, because y'all eating her up, y'all. I know she telling them, yeah, you see them in my comment section, this is why I'm not friends with them. Yeah.
That girl and marrying this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man at a very deep level, thinking about what that meant for her social contract. If she didn't air out her dirty laundry, if he had not divorced her, which is the only reason why she's speaking about this, if they were still married, she would still be raking in the benefits of what that looked like via the social contract. That's why a lot of black men marry white women. They think they're elevating themselves in the social contract, but the only social thing that they're elevating themselves in is amongst other black men because, you know, we're not even going to get into that. If as a woman you're going to do that and you're going to really put a high regard on the social contract, you need to make sure that the man is not a fucking scammer. You need to do the least of your due diligence because looks can only get you so far. That privilege can only get you so far. The privilege of him appearing rich can only get you so far. At some point, you have to cough up real money. You can't just go after like half of the package. Like, you need to go after the full package. Like, and I know she thought she was, but the signs were there that you weren't. But she was so caught up on the optics of what that man meant that she could land a man that looked like that, she and Taylor Swift are going neck and neck for Calvin Harris's lookalike. When she was so consumed with the thought of that she just overlooked all the other red flags.
So everyone is talking right now about the Danish deception, and I want to talk about it as a therapist through a mental health lens. I have so much empathy for her. Something that's actually quite common, but it just happens quietly in silos and it's not talked about, especially for very successful Black women or BIPOC women, but it's just not talked about often. Starting with the self-esteem piece, looking at Onyeka, she is successful. She does well for herself externally, but external success does not also equal internal self-worth. A lot of people are saying, like, how is it that she did not know? And obviously there's some nuances to that, her not talking to her friends about the situation and what's going on, and they could have advised her in all of those pieces. Low self-esteem doesn't show up in your career, but it shows up in your relationship and what it is that you choose to tolerate. You've literally been trained to override your own instincts to protect the relationship instead of you protecting yourself. And then secondly, looking at, there's a cultural aspect as well. I don't know her, but based off of what we can tell, it seems like she's probably grew up in America, spent majority of her life there, but also the background that she comes from, she's Nigerian. And so I'm Nigerian as well. So within a Nigerian culture, the narrative of getting married, doesn't matter how accomplished you are, how well you've done for yourself. If you're not married, you're not chosen, you have no value, essentially. And so that pressure that she might be feeling, like, okay, like, I've done really well for myself. I've been on a TV show. I'm smart. I can travel. I live a decent life. There's also that pressure of, like, okay, I need to be chosen. I need to be married. This is the next step. And there's also the message of, like, what will people say? I mean, heck, y'all know how many aunties and uncles are in relationships that they're unhappy. They have no business being together with. But if you ask them now, okay, well, why don't you choose you and be happy? They're going to tell you, we don't do that. What will people say? So that keeps being perpetuated. Also, her ex told her was not to share a lot of information about himself with other people. And at the time, she's probably thinking, okay, well, we are married. This should bring us together. This should bond us. We should have like some sort of like sacred intimacy with one another. But what shame does is it thrives in secrecy. And the more that she did not share with her friends, the more isolated and probably far away and distant from them emotionally that she felt. And the ex was able to get away with whatever it is that he did, because that shame, that embarrassment just grew emotionally for her. I know a lot of people were like, the red flags are there. Why didn't she, like, there were so many red flags, right? Starting off with the date. The first date, I think they went on or whatever, she fell and she had a concussion. Like, there were all these signs, right? And people were like, also, you're a Nigerian babe, you're an Igbo babe, right? How can you, not see these signs when it comes to money and him asking you for money? But the thing about trauma bonding and trauma, it don't care. It does not care. And you will kind of override your own instincts in order to protect that relationship. And you start to take on roles of being a helper or being, what is that term? When you are like superwoman syndrome, where you're like, I can fix him, like complex syndrome, right? So we see that of like, okay, maybe after this, and when he gets the money from Denmark, things will clear, right? Okay, maybe after this, we can start our life. That's classic trauma bond, where you're like, I can help, I can fix, right? And you're in a way robbing the other person from their accountability or taking responsibility, which is also rooted as well in low self-esteem. I have a lot of empathy for her, right? We all make mistakes. Listen, we all make mistakes, and obviously there's some more stuff that's also going on, but I didn't want to get into like all of that. The one thing that I think it's great that she's drawing awareness, about the guy, what it is that he did. I think a part of me is also worried about the method in which she's going about it. I know she said she's in therapy. Fantastic, amazing. Baby girl, keep going, keep doing the therapy. But also too as well, because the situation's kind of still fresh, and maybe she has processed it, I don't know. But I think as I was kind of listening to the story, my one kind of like, ooh, I'm not so sure is, especially for a lot of people who might have narcissistic traits, and you're kind of walking us through what happened, how he's like, took money from yourself, your other family, friends, and people around you and your friends and things like that. My only worry is like, now you're putting yourself out there into the world for maybe some of these other people out here that might try to come around and do the same thing to you, because when you are someone who you're smart, you're successful in all of these things, you at times are bait. You're bait for people who have, or men who have narcissistic traits or tendencies. So that is something to keep in mind. And I'm praying that's not the case and this doesn't happen to you again. But yeah, that's kind of my take on this.
I used to be close friends with Onyeka and even went on a double date with her and her ex-husband. When we were friends, I told her to be careful of that man, and it seemed too good to be true. And he was suspicious, and she wanted to hear nothing of it.
Qua, 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 qua! Breaking news! The mystery has now been solved. I freaking told you guys. I told you there is nothing new under the sun, and human beings are so fucking predictable. I told you that they would have been friends that would have given her the real. There would have been friends that would have warned her, and chances are she cut them off. She said she was legally blind and she cut them off, okay? And lo and behold, a friend has come forward, and that is exactly what happened. This is why I say, that your experiences, while they may be painful, they are not unique. They're not unique. When you get warnings from people that are more experienced in life than you, or when you see a story on TV, etc., you have to take wisdom, like learn from other people's circumstances, because there is nothing new under the sun.
I really don't understand what this whole hype is about this Danish deception story. It's just another African story. All I'm getting from it is another African who wants proximity to whiteness. Will even go as far as pay for it. What that girl gave him? $30,000? Shit, that's damn near reparations. Y'all check this shit out.
As most of you are aware of, I made the grave mistake of marrying a professional, international criminal con artist, and I wanted to share with you guys the lessons I have learned. Then lesson number 1, don't be too trusting. Trust should be earned and not given out like free samples. It's okay to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but what you cannot do is give someone blind access to your resources, your life, or your heart without them showing signs of consistency.
Girl, let me hold 50,000. I know you got it. And this is a prime example of why us Black Americans are delineating, because you Caribbeans and Africans, y'all be doing some cornball ass shit. Getting finessed by a white boy who's in your face in real time? Nah, we don't get down like that. See, we been learned our lesson in the early 1800s. As a previous student college athlete, do you not know how much shit white girls used to let us get away with? I'm talking about I'm pulling up the class with an all-black Mercedes-Benz with a pink tag that says Beverly Hills. You know it don't belong to me. Food, clothes, gold chain, everything is on her. And not because I like her or we like her, but because she likes us. We gonna get these reparations one way or another, but it damn sure ain't coming out of my pockets. And that's another reason why we're no longer identifying you Caribbeans and Africans as black. Because you don't got the same smoke for white supremacy like Black Americans do. To some degree, you want white approval or white proximity. See what I'm saying? The whole terminology of black was to separate us from white America, knowing that we went through a certain experience and we prevailed with resilience and even became some of the world's favorite icons. And I don't give a damn if the story real or fake. The metaphor, the situation of the story is real. See what I'm saying? But anyways, y'all boys stay on top.
I'm sorry, when it comes to the Danish deception lady, I ain't talk about it until y'all ready to say the elephant that's in the room. That girl was stupid. Respectfully. She was fucking dumb. Because that's a perfect example of a male-centered woman with pick me. Because, girl, don't red flag for red flagging. Don't flag for waving. Like, this is what happened with pick me's. Them bitches are so fucking dumb. They'll make any type of excuse to justify a man. Like, that's a perfect example of a woman who just wanted a man, who just wanted marriage. Because, girl, the red flag was right there in your face in the fucking beginning. And then, in the fucking video, you can tell she still wanted to be with him. Like, don't piss me off. Like, this is why I couldn't talk about it, because just, I'm getting irritated, because she pissed me off, because you do better. And then after that, I see other people talking about, oh, this is victim blaming, it's victim blaming. Baby, that's not victim blaming. Like, this is just basic common fucking sense. That baby didn't have it.
A lot of y'all are making this into a race thing, which does not make any sense to me, because a lot of black men and black women scam all the time.
I'm going to open up a hospital for mentally ill Africans. I'm going to hospitalize you coons. We are not making it about race, but you did. You fell for whiteness as a fantasy object. And that is why you weren't just scammed by a white man, but you were scammed by an entire history that has told black women that white men are princes. In Black Skin, White Masks, Fanon talks about how colonial society produces fantasies where black subjects are pulled toward whiteness as the horizon of beauty, humanity, and recognition. Desire becomes a way of reaching for the advantages of whiteness through intimacy. Your attraction to this white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed man is a colonial desire. For me, it's much more a colonial fetish. You wanted proximity to the figure, the ontological being that society has told you is desirable, is safe, civilized, and most importantly, above you. That's why you were more willing to suspend disbelief when he said wild things, because whiteness is already coded as credible. The blonde-haired, blue eyes is important because you're not just saying, I like this individual. You're saying, I like him because he visibly carries whiteness. In her paper, Whiteness as Property, Cheryl Harris argues that whiteness functions like a form of property, right? It's a legally and socially protected asset that carries presumptions of credibility, respectability, and superiority. And so in this situation, the man's blonde hair, blue eyes functioned as property signs. They were signals that he possessed the value and the trustworthiness that is associated with whiteness even before he opened his mouth. And so your attraction to this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man was shaped by a structure, a society where whiteness is kind of a guarantee, so to speak. It's a guarantee that made his lies feel plausible. And it helps you to show how the scam works, not only because he was deceptive, but because whiteness circulates itself as a credential that shields white men from suspicion and makes black women more likely to read them as safe, elevated, and prince-like. And I say it's a fetish because here you are over-invested in a visible trait, white-skinned, blonde hair, blue eyes, as if it guarantees an entire package of moral and social qualities. It's kind of a short circuit in judgment. He looks like who you've been told princes look like. And so for you, him saying he's a prince is plausible. Because if a black man had come to you and told you he was a prince, you would not be believing that. That's why he can be so obviously scammy. But you let that slide because your desire is doing the cognitive labor for you. And here we could inject some Marx. Marx's whole thing about commodity fetishism is that people treat commodities here, whiteness, as if their value reside in the thing itself and not the social relations behind it, who this person is in society. And so whiteness functions as a fetishized social form. The white man appears to you, Ms. Onyeka, as naturally more valuable, right? His body is read as containing the values that you associate with whiteness. And so you ended up treating his whiteness as a visible guarantee of the properties that are associated with whiteness. Now, as for the show The Bachelor, that entire infrastructure, project, machinery, whatever you want to call it, is set up to produce white hetero fairy tales. The show is built on, women getting fantasy proposals, the perfect man, and fairy tale weddings. A black woman on that show is already thrown in the deep end because you're already participating in a project where the end goal is the accumulation of whiteness. And so when you meet this white Danish blonde-haired blue-eyed man, he already fits within the script or within the mold of what or who you would consider to be a prince. So you got because the projects you've participated in, right? The televised and historical scripts already made you poised to accept this white man, to attempt to accumulate this whiteness that is associated with this white man in the context of ontology, because society has told you that this is the kind of man you should want and trust.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube. And that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, let's jump into it. So I'm going to do a mix of concepts I want to bring to light and then just me, running my mouth about this whole shenanigan shit show that this woman brought to the TikTok streets. And she is now in her feelings that black women are looking at her sideways because of this. And as a woman who comfortably and confidently dates interracially, because I do not judge men on race, I look for men who align with me in terms of compatibility and other just moral values overarching. So I've definitely dated white men before. And I have to tell you, I have never had this ridiculous ass experience. So let's break down from my perspective as a black woman who dates interracially, but also as a relationship coach, how this even got to where it is. So the first part of this is I believe this Onyeka, the lady in the story, is dating from a point of worshiping whiteness, pedestalizing whiteness, and very low racial self-esteem. She has a lot of internalized biases, anti-blackness, racial insecurity, and self-hatred from what I'm observing. And you saw other Black women name it and point it out as well. Throughout the whole 27-part series, I didn't stitch it, but I stitched people's commentary and a summary of it. You saw her really with this lens to pedestalizing whiteness with her desire to have mixed children and her parents' desire to have mixed grandbabies. They are upholding whiteness as a tenet of superiority. So this often happens. You will notice this. Anecdotally, I have observed this more often with people who are Caribbean and African versus African American, who are part of the diaspora, but they're not African American. They think that they are better than Black Americans and they uphold whiteness. They are huge upholders of white supremacy and a white patriarchy. And I believe she got herself or allowed herself to be pulled into this situation because his whiteness was more important than all of the bullshit and the scams he was running on her. So she needed to examine, or she still needs to examine her own self-concept and internalized biases. So that is the first insight that any Black woman needs to take away, period. But definitely if she dates interracially or is considering to do so, look at how you feel about yourself. If you don't like you, if you don't like your complexion, if you don't like your features, if you don't like your hair texture, you need to really work through that. I'm not going to say get over that because those are things that have been points of trauma for many of us. You need to go see a professional, a Black woman who specifically specializes, a therapist, a licensed therapist who specializes in racial identity and insecurities and things. Because with that mindset of having those types of harmful views of yourself and things about yourself, you are inevitably going to attract a man just like the Danish deception or far worse. So there is something to be said about people who can't identify that their preference is really avoidance and their preference is actually mandatory. So in this particular instance, the woman telling the story, she doesn't have a preference for white men. That is mandatory because she pedestalizes it as a feature. There's definitely fetishization there. The good hair, the lighter babies, the mixed babies, wanting children who don't look like her. That says a lot. There's a lot of racial embarrassment in the way that she emotes and tells the story. And Black women, we clocked it immediately. And it's very sad that she is taking this time to then try to blame Black women for being hard on her instead of saying, wow, I need to really reflect and see what I need to do so I don't end up in this situation again, because I can pretty much bet money on the fact if she does not confront those views she has about herself, she is going to end up in a similar or worse situation with another white man. You know, a man who doesn't value you who is struggling in any way, shape, or form, he is going to understand and see your insecurities and exploit them. And that's exactly what we, are observing in this story. Another huge thing that came up for me that was a red flag, she ignored so many red flags, was this man asking her for money. Okay, outside of race is a paramount and overarching thing here, and I don't care if she says it's not a factor, it is. This man very early on was asking for money and asking for large amounts of money. A couple $1,000s may not be a lot to many people, but you have to wonder if you are dating a man and you are living life at a certain level as they were, because they took a lot of trips and did a lot of things. He was asking for money. He was able to loop in and exploit friends of hers. Her parents lend him money. That is huge. That is extremely problematic. Why are we allowing people to access our friends and family for money? Very problematic. Another thing that was huge in her storytelling that seemed very off-putting to me and probably many other women who watched this was how she was very dismissive and of the things he did in a way that you could tell she would take that man back in a second if he was not the one who had left her. She wanted him in the things that she pedestalized about him, his whiteness, more than she wanted to be financially safe, more than she wanted to be emotionally safe. Now, this is another huge one. This leads into another huge one. The implications, legal implication, watch out for getting into any space or relationship where the legal implications are huge and potentially very detrimental to you. So because she married him and is the sponsor for his green card, she is responsible for all of the lawsuits and things that are coming against him for, I think, at least the next 10 years. And as you saw her like lightheartedness, her chuckling, her kind of airheadedness, to be honest about it, was very telling that she still doesn't get it and she would still allow this man back in her life. But bigger to that, the 10 years of obligation she has to any foolishness he has gotten himself in with all of this debt and borrowing money from all of these people. Do not lend a man money. That is very problematic, I think, up front, but I think at all should, as really it. Now, if you, once you're married and hopefully you made a good choice in who you married, and issues of money or concerns about money come up, you still need to ask a lot of questions, because why is he asking to borrow money? I thought he was established. You know, he presented something, and he was a good scammer. I'm not going to lie. He was a good scammer. But she also did not consider all of the legal implications that were behind her choosing to help him, you know, with his green card. And now she is in a bind in some ways because of all of the impacts his actions, her former husband or strange husband, whatever, now have on her credit and her things that she's going to be able to do in her life for at least the next 10 years financially. Be wary of that. The money thing, like I said, another red flag. Why are you lending a man money? Very problematic. And you allow your parents to lend him money. You allow him to have access to get money from your parents. I keep coming back to that because that is, I think, the easiest thing to spot and the easiest way she could have dismissed him very early. But she chose not to. On to, I believe, the biggest part of this that a lot of people are pissed at. A lot of black women are pissed at. She hasn't learned anything. Like I said, she would take this man back in a heartbeat if he chose to come back, because she has some real issues with who she is, what she looks like, and what she wants her children to look like. There's a lot of fetishization there, which is very harmful, which is very dangerous, and it's racist. She needs to deal with that. But there was no learning. There was no light bulb. She put that whole 27-part series out. There was nothing in there that said, reflected, or showed she had learned or grown. And now she's pivoting into now just being mad at black women for calling her out. Now, I'm not going to say, you know, all the negative things that have been said about her. There's plenty of people saying things about her. But I'm going to say that's a big one, too. Once you get out of a relationship, whether it ended well or whether it did not end well, you need to take some time to self-reflect. I do think TikTok is a medium nowadays where people can come and tell their truth and their story and get all types of feedback, good, bad, and different. However, I think you need to be mindful and ready for that type of feedback, i.e. potentially backlash, when you tell your story. Because here, this woman is telling her story, she's telling her truth, and there seems to be no understanding of how she fed into this scenario continually. Because I truly, from what she was saying and how he moved and the different places they went and, you know, different, I don't think he was putting as much effort in down the line to scam her. I think he was just pretty blatant about it that he did at the beginning when he didn't know her and how she would react. But because she kept allowing his foolishness, right, which translated into him getting money from her. So I don't want to say she was scammed. She was manipulated to an extent, but she also did not listen to anyone around her, and she hasn't learned anything from this entire experience. So this was a very interesting tale. I know this was a long video in terms of the clips I used because I wanted to give women's perspective, I wanted to give men's perspective, and I wanted to give a summary of the whole thing, you know, overall. But this was a mess. Any woman who dates interracially or is thinking about doing so, I think this is a great cautionary tale, and it's a great point there that you can learn from. It's a great tale you can learn from. Drop your comments below if you've dated interracially and it turned out great, it turned out not so great, or if something you're thinking about and, factors you would consider so you don't end up being manipulated, taken advantage of, harmed in any way, etc. All right, loves, that's a wrap. And I hope this gave you the clarity and language you need to protect your heart, your identity, and your peace in the dating world. Remember, awareness is empowerment, and your self-worth sets the tone for every connection you allow into your life. If you want to go deeper, get personalized guidance, or join a community of women who are leveling up together, make sure you join my exclusive coffee coaching space. And don't forget to comment your thoughts, share this video with another queen who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation that could change your dating life. I'll see you in the next one. Stay aware, stay grounded, and stay in your power. And don't give these men no money.